We're still more than a year from the next presidential election, but already candidates are talking about your money.
See, the bottom line is, I know you like me, and this room is a love fest, I know that, but you have no choice but to vote for me because your 401ks, down the tubes, everything's going to be down the tubes. So whether you love me or hate me, you got to vote for me.
And the president isn't the only one taking aim at your pocketbook. The Democrats are as well. So let's turn now to John Harwood in Washington. John, good to see you.
Hey, Sue.
You know, given the week we just had, a lot of people are wondering how strong the U.S. economy is, and has it changed the 2020 campaign for the president?
I think it's begun to change it, Sue. And, you know, that was an unusual statement from the president after a week of stock market volatility to cast himself as the protector of people's 401ks. But really, the campaign so far has been mostly fought out on cultural grounds. Who's an American? The whole questions of identity, immigration, white voters feeling apprehensive and immigrants feeling under siege. Now this is shifting to more toward an economic terrain because all of a sudden, for the first time in a long time, people are feeling a little bit more vulnerable, and that's going to change this dialogue going forward.
And will the president's campaign be able to adjust to that?
Well, they're going to have to. The president has been more comfortable discussing cultural issues and trying to rouse his blue-collar base with those cultural messages. But he's got a different problem on his hands that he hasn't been used to so far. So far, the culture wars have alienated some voters who are happy with the economy. Now the president's got to worry about that happening in reverse. That is, people who like his messages about immigration, for example, but all of a sudden have a new sense of vulnerability on the economy. The president's been pretty stable in the polls, but does that drive some people away from him? They've got to figure out how to answer that question.
Now let's turn to the Democratic candidates, and there are many of them, certainly at this point. What do they need to do to take advantage of what's happening in the economy?
Interesting cross-current, Sue, on the Democratic side. For Joe Biden, who is the familiar frontrunner, I think the more uneasy people feel, the better it is for him. He's a familiar, stable character, especially for the African-American voters that he is dominating right now, even though there are two African-Americans in the race. It's a challenge, I think, for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who have the most radical economic positions. Do those become more scary to people as they're in this situation? And Kamala Harris, who's probably the candidate below those top three most likely to come up, she hasn't really defined her economic positions fully. Does she go for more safety, as she's done on health care compared to Sanders and Warren, or does she go for the fences? She's going to be sketching out her economic positions in more detail in the coming weeks.
John Harwood in Washington. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.